From Season 3, Episode 6 has arrived, and with it came a lot of clues.
1864.
And even more mysteries.
When I was a little girl, I would have the same nightmare.
So hold those talismans close and settle in, because it's time to break it down. With only 4 episodes remaining in the season, I have a feeling things are going to massively heat up from here.
One of these days, we'll make you stay.
Before we jump in, don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoy it, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to catch more. Now, without further ado, let's get into episode 6, titled Scar Tissue.
Did it ever occur to you that maybe we could have done things together? No, because you wanted to do it on your own. You want to do everything on your own. That's why you...
That's why what? That's why what?
Nothing.
That's what I want.
I'm going back to bed.
Now, a big part of this episode actually comes down to communication, but also a lack of. Communication is key in this place, and once it's done in the right way, new paths reveal themselves, which can be seen when Boyd reveals he too once saw a bottle tree whilst out in the forest with Sarah.
Did you look at the bottles from the other tree?
However, this one didn't have a portal to take you elsewhere, it just had the bottles. And then it turns out at least some of the numbers hanging from both trees are the same. So now I'm thinking this second tree is likely a replica someone's tried to recreate of the first, or if you've checked out last week's breakdown, you already know my thoughts that the bottles are actually a way to dictate where the portal in the tree will take you. Almost like coordinates, so perhaps if that's the case, then someone wanted to make a copy of it for future reference, in case the original was ever interfered with. Interestingly, whilst out inspecting the second tree, Jade also has a Father Cottree-like experience that Boyd regularly has. However, it's with the old barman that died previously. Now, he actually spoke some sense and told Jade to pretty much sober up, and if Jade takes that on board, we could be about to see the best of him. For both Boyd and Jade to see something so similar, it's unlikely to just be in their heads. Instead, I actually think it could be their ghosts at this point, or another way for the dark forces that be to mess with them. However, if that was the case, why would they actually offer good advice? Now, this is a big episode for the bottle tree, Jade and Tabitha, which we'll get onto later. Anyways, the return of Tabitha and the introduction of Henry and Acosta brought with it a whole ambulance full of fresh supplies, you know, to keep the townspeople going in a time of need. And interestingly, it also introduced an ultrasound machine into the mix. We've all known for a while now something's severely wrong with Fatima's pregnancy. And now we get some answers to that. Well, kind of. You see, Ellis is trying to be a supporting partner to her when Grandad Boyd turns up and they fill him in on what's been going on.
What's going on?
I think Fatima left out the small detail of enjoying a taste of human blood, but anyway, after some back and forth and hesitation, she eventually agrees to go down to the clinic for the baby's first scan, where it turns out she isn't actually pregnant at all. Now, hats off to you guys that saw this coming. Nothing appears where it should be, which immediately sent everyone into overdrive, theorizing on what's actually happening here. Now, I think it's one of two answers. The first and most likely, in my opinion, is that the scan's right and she never was pregnant at all. However, she had all the symptoms and was led to believe she was by whatever dark entity has got its grip over the town. It's clear for Fatima, who was told she couldn't ever have kids, that this was a dream come true for her, and for that to now be taken away would be soul-crushing, which is exactly what the town wants, especially if it's feeding off of emotions.
I need you to look again.
However, the second option would be that she is pregnant and it is one of those monsters. However, it's simply undetectable on the ultrasound, like so many different paranormal entities are when you're trying to trace them with modern equipment. Anyways, we get a few moves in this one as Kenny decides it's time to leave the diner with his parents now both gone, leaving it open for another family to move into. And he's gonna move into Colony House after a chat with Donna while she's covering up Dale's body with rocks. You also got Randall too, who comes around more this episode and faces up to the injuries he sustained the other night by the creatures. He's not going to be staying on the bus anymore, and quite frankly, who can blame him? Instead, he's going to be moving into the clinic with Muriel. Now, this episode's quite a big one for Victor and his dad. Of course, Victor's still set on the task of recovering Jasper from the tunnels, and he doesn't want Henry coming along for his own safety. He's only just arrived there and he wouldn't be as clued up about that place as his son. I felt a little bit bad for him because he clearly just wanted to spend some time with his son after so many years apart, but it came across like Victor just wanted him out of the way. However, the pair eventually agreed to walk together towards the entrance to the tunnels, and once they arrive there, it's not really much of a surprise, but Henry's not letting Victor go down alone.
I just got you back. I'm not losing you again.
Victor's using a bunch of plastic toy soldiers, which I think nearly everyone had something similar to as a kid, to leave a trail of breadcrumbs so they can find their way back to the entrance. And this perfectly sums up Victor, the town, and how it's affected his life growing up there. Leaving breadcrumbs is pretty much pulling from the children's book Hansel and Gretel, and whilst it's a logical idea, it wouldn't take much for the creatures to move some of the soldiers around to confuse them upon their exit. But it also says a lot about Victor, that he still has them in his possession as an older man. Now, in the tunnels, they reached the room that was previously full of random stuff, Jasper and some of the creatures that are sleeping. However, this time is empty, which leads them to travelling deeper. They eventually come across the missing items, creatures and Jasper, who sat at a dining table halfway through a tea party, it seems. Henry found Miranda's scarf down there too and caused a bit of a commotion that woke the creatures up. As they head for the exit, one of the creatures tells Victor that if he keeps coming down there, one of these days they're going to make him stay, which on the surface you think it means they're going to kill him and his body will be left there forever. However, I can't help but think they're hinting towards making Victor one of them, and perhaps the creatures themselves were all once people who ventured down into the cave during different periods of time and all became creatures themselves instead of being outright ripped apart by them. Anyway, it's a mission accomplished for Victor as he's got Jasper in his possession and plans to force it into retelling a story it once told Christopher about the town that could be vital in helping them understand why everything's suddenly changing. Now, back at the Matthews house, Tabitha's talking to Ethan, who overheard his parents fighting the night before. They were set on getting a divorce before becoming stuck there, but their struggle for survival brought them back together. However, now it seems the cracks are beginning to surface once again. Anyways, she hears something banging around upstairs and goes to investigate.
Is someone upstairs?
No.
Only to find the creepy kids are back. They're what led her to the lighthouse in the first place and haven't been seen by her since, so it seems her story there isn't quite finished. Now, as you'd expect, they freak out and end up leaving the house and heading over to the bar to find Jade, who's trying to figure out the puzzle of the bottle tree and the significance of the numbers. Jade's going to let Ethan help him and try and solve it. He's much more tolerant of kids now, I've noticed, and I have to say, I think Ethan's going to be the one to piece it all together. He's not going to overcomplicate things like the adults will, and he'll actually make it look more simpler than initially thought. I'm going to throw this one out here now as well. I think there's going to be a little something going on between Jade and Tabitha before the end of the season. We know the town likes to cause disruption during the day as well as the night, and now it's tying Jade and Tabitha's experiences in together, which has led them to spending more time with one another. He's the only one in the town she can really talk to and open up to, as he's going through something pretty similar himself. Like, he's also seen the Ankui kids. Notice how she tells Jade what she saw upstairs, yet didn't attempt to find Jim and tell him first. This would cause one hell of a conflict in town if it did go down that way. Anyways, in the bar, Tabitha spots some of the drawings of the totems,
What is this?
which she recognizes. It turns out she used to dream of the town, or more specifically the old village that's been discovered as a kid. Funnily enough, the exact spot Jade encountered the guy with a knife through his eye socket, and the 3 red rocks. Now, we always thought no one ended up in the town at random, but now it seems at least some of them were always destined to go there, as far back as being young children. In Tabitha's case, probably at least 30 years beforehand. We're beginning to see moves made by both the townspeople and the dark forces that be themselves. Some are a little more clear right now than others, with the people like Boyd, Tabitha, Jade, all starting to communicate with one another about their individual experiences more, whilst at nearly every corner you turn, you get hints of the town setting up something else to tear them down. This time around, I really think it's going to be a rift between Jim and Tabitha, which could then also include Jade too, which will also have a knock-on effect on the kids Ethan and Julie. You know, another example of the town trying to break not just Boyd, but the community as a whole, and that's what they've done already with Fatima, it seems. Yeah, it looks like she's been led to believe she's having a miracle baby with the man she loves, only to then find out it's really all part of a sick and twisted game that's being played there. Either that, or she's going to be surprised in a few months when something else non-human ends up making an appearance. But speaking about human, one part of this episode I really enjoyed was seeing Victor and Henry's relationship slowly rebuilding. After spending so much time apart, to see how Henry still, even though Victor's a fully grown man at this point, wants to look out for him but not letting him go down in the tunnels alone, it's nice to see. And I think anyone who's got kids of their own can relate to that. Overall, it was a really strong episode. It feels like the clues are now all coming together and are building towards something. However, whether that's a potential path out of there or something else entirely is yet to be seen. I've heard before the season premiered there's going to be a few big character deaths this time around, and of course, we've had one very early on with Tien Chen, and I wouldn't really count Dale as being a huge character myself, so there still could be a few more on the way. With only 4 episodes to go, I think it's now we're really going to see the heat turned up on the townspeople, and perhaps there's a bloodbath or two waiting in store for us as well. So if another key character's on their way out, who do you think it will be? As always, drop your thoughts, theories and wilder speculations down in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to catch more. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.